If your mind isn't yours, then who's living your life? You wake up with thoughts you didn't choose, cravings you didn't ask for, fears you never invited, and goals that don't even feel like yours anymore. Let me ask you with all the seriousness this moment deserves, are you thinking or being thought? Because what if I told you that you are not your thoughts, but you are the servant of the ones you've allowed to dominate, and that the mind you ignore has been running your entire destiny on autopilot? Here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not what you want, you are not what you know, you are not even what you believe. You are and will always be what you permit to dominate your mind. So the question that remains is not, what do you think about? It's far more terrifying. What's been thinking for you all along? There is a simple law that governs your entire life. It does not scream. It does not beg to be noticed. It works silently, in the background like gravity. But unlike gravity, this law doesn't pull you down. It pulls you into who you are becoming. Every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts which he permits to occupy his mind. Let us not brush over that word, permits. Because whether you are aware or not, your mind is a kingdom, and everyday thoughts approach the gate. Some beg to be let in, others storm their way through. But here's the question. Who have you been allowing to live inside your head, rent-free? Because those thoughts, they become your personality. They become your beliefs. They become your fears, your habits, your reality. Let me take you deeper. There is no such thing as a harmless thought. Every repeated mental image, every emotional cycle, every silent narrative, it all lays brick by brick the identity you now live inside. And most men have become accidental constructions. They think they're in charge. But their mind has been hijacked by repetition, by trauma, by culture, by advertising, by past versions of themselves that never matured. These thoughts become dominant not because they're true, but because they're familiar. And the brain favors the familiar over the factual. Let me be absolutely clear. The man who does not actively train his thoughts will live by someone else's agenda, because your thoughts are not static. They shape your energy levels, focus or fatigue, choices, bold or passive, relationships, intimacy or fear, finances, risk or scarcity. It's not the thoughts that pass through that are the issue. It's the ones you allow to stay. Every day the dominating thought says, let me stay a little longer. And you too busy, too numb, too distracted, say, sure. And now that thought becomes your truth. Let me show you the formula. Thought, feeling, action, result, belief, thought again. This loop is invisible, but it is inescapable unless you interrupt it. A man who believes he's unlucky will feel disempowered, will take fewer bold actions, will get worse results, which confirm the belief. That belief becomes dominant not because it's real, but because it is unquestioned. If you are not interrupting your thought loop, you are being programmed by it. There's a secret reason why most avoid this work, because dominating thoughts reveal what you've been running from. Your lack of belief in your worth, your hidden resentment toward success, your guilt around power or money, your doubt that anyone would follow you. Facing your thoughts is facing your shadow, but ignoring it doesn't delete it. It just leaves it in charge. Here is the liberation. You can install the thought that shapes your life. Just as thoughts were installed by accident, they can be replaced by design, and the brain, being obedient, will follow your lead. This is the essence of power. Not controlling everything, but controlling what controls you. Block 3. This is how empires are built. Not with armies, but with a dominant vision held in the mind of one man, long enough, powerfully enough, until the world made it real. Here is your blueprint. Identify the thought currently in charge. What narrative dominates your decisions? Interrupt the loop. Catch the feeling before it becomes belief. Pause, question, reverse. Choose your new North Star. What thought, if repeated for 6 months, would make you unstoppable? Obsessively reinforce. Write it, speak it, feel it, visualize it, live as if it were law. Let it dominate until reality obeys, because the world does not resist the man whose inner signal never wavers. Every great man you admire, from the generals to the entrepreneurs to the philosophers, did not rise because they knew more. They rose because their mind served one master thought. And while the masses float in indecision, the trained few build lives around clarity. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another course. You don't need permission. You need to choose what thought rules you. Because if you don't, someone, something, or some past version of you already has. This is how empires are built. Not with armies, but with a dominant vision held in the mind of one man, long enough, powerfully enough, until the world made it real. Here is your blueprint. 1. Identify the thought currently in charge. What narrative dominates your decisions? 2. Interrupt the loop. Catch the feeling before it becomes belief. Pause, question, reverse. 3. Choose your new North Star. What thought, if repeated for 6 months, would make you unstoppable? 4. Obsessively reinforce. Write it, speak it, feel it, visualize it, live as if it were law. 5. Let it dominate until reality obeys. Because the world does not resist the man whose inner signal never wavers. Every great man you admire, from the generals to the entrepreneurs to the philosophers, did not rise because they knew more. They rose because their minds served one master thought. And while the masses float in indecision, the trained few build lives around clarity. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another course. You don't need permission. You need to choose what thought rules you. Because if you don't, someone, something, or some past version of you already has. There is a myth, and it is a dangerous one. It says that thoughts are private, that they live quietly in the mind, unseen, untouched, and separate from the world. Let me destroy that illusion. Every thought becomes a blueprint. You are the builder, your emotions are the bricks, your habits are the hammer. And the world you live in? It is the house your mind built. You may not like the paint. You may dislike the view. You may wish for a different address. But until you examine the blueprint, until you confront the thought that laid the foundation, nothing truly changes. Every man walks around carrying an internal command. He may not speak it, he may not even be aware of it, but it's there, and this command governs his risk tolerance, emotional stability, relationship capacity, financial ceiling, identity permissions. Let me give you examples. A man whose dominating thought is, "I must not fail," will avoid opportunity. A man who lives under, "I don't deserve more," will self-sabotage as success approaches. A man who repeats, "It's already mine," will walk, talk, and create with magnetic inevitability. The world doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you signal. And your dominant thought is your primary broadcast. The average man believes thoughts arrive randomly, but that is not so. Your brain is a machine of pattern recognition. Whatever it is shown most often, it begins to prefer. If you constantly show it fear, it defaults to fear. If you constantly repeat doubt, it defaults to hesitation. But if you install vision, power, and certainty, rewires to follow that track. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You are the architect. This is where the educated man sets himself apart. He does not just consume ideas. He directs the inner narrative. He sets reminders. He leaves post-its. He writes incantations. He guards inputs. He curates his language. He refuses to allow his brain to default. Because he knows, if he doesn't install the dominant thought, the world will. Look at any decision you've made recently. Job opportunity declined. A conversation avoided. A price you didn't ask for. Trace it back. What belief whispered into your mind just before that? What dominant thought said, "Stay small. Play it safe. You're not ready." And did you challenge it, or did you obey it? Every action or lack thereof flows from a mental executive command, and unless you consciously override that command, you are operating by default. This is why some men achieve the impossible, not because they are better, but because their dominant thoughts allow for more. Their actions are fueled by, "Of course it's mine. This is inevitable. This risk is beneath me." And so they behave like creators, not survivors. Think of your dominant thought as the core code of your identity. It determines what you tolerate, what you reach for, what you repeat, what you build, what you protect. Every system, emotional, behavioral, financial, relationalis, running on that core code. If the code says, stay invisible, you will find a way to vanish. If the code says, be adored, you will behave for approval. If the code says, become legend, you will pay the price gladly. It's not about willpower. It's about installing the right program. Here's a daily practice. Use it for 30 days, and you'll become unrecognizable. 1. Audit your first waking thought. Write it down. Ask, who does this thought serve? 2. Interrupt the false code. Speak a new command out loud. Anchor it in breath and posture. 3. Use environment triggers. Change your screensaver. Write your thought on mirrors. Make it unavoidable. 4. Pair it with bold action. Do something uncomfortable that proves your new thought true. 5. Review at night. Did you live by your new thought or default? Adjust, reinforce, refocus. You are not just learning to think positively. You are training your subconscious to obey. Let the masses believe that thoughts are harmless. Let them dismiss mindset as fluff. You, however, now know. A single thought, repeated with enough intensity and clarity, becomes your identity. And identity is destiny. So choose your destiny by choosing your dominant thought. And repeat it, reinforce it, live it, until the world has no choice but to obey what you first believed in silence. There comes a moment if you are paying attention when your dominant thought is no longer just a belief. It becomes a frequency, a pulse you walk with, a vibration that shapes the room before you even speak. It is no longer something you have to remind yourself of. It becomes who you are. This is the moment where change becomes permanent. This is the point of no return. In the beginning, you must repeat your chosen thought like a mantra. You write it, you rehearse it, you fight for it, you catch your old loops mid-sentence, you interrupt them, replace them, and still, they return. But then one day something breaks, or rather something locks in, and suddenly, you respond differently. You walk differently. You expect differently. And you know, not because the world changed first, but because your inner compass no longer tolerates the old signal. This is how kings are born in silence. The thought must become you. You cannot dominate life with borrowed language. You cannot lead with philosophies you've never bled for. A dominant thought is not an affirmation. It is an internal law. It doesn't beg for results. It predicts them. And the man who has reached this level, he doesn't need motivation. He doesn't even need proof. He has become the proof. He lives in the embodiment of the thought. And that embodiment day by day silently bends the universe around him. To become this man, something must die. The old youth aversion governed by hesitation, victimhood, doubt cannot come with you. This is not poetic. It is practical. Your body cannot move with decisiveness while your mind drags the corpse of your past behind you. So you must let the former you dissolve, burn the journals, delete the self-pity content, say goodbye to the friendships that only recognize your former limits. The world will mourn for a moment, then adjust, because it always bows to the man who has decided what he now is. Now, you build what few can destroy, a frame of mind so complete, so disciplined, so rehearsed, that the external cannot distort it. Rejection doesn't shake you. Delays don't dissuade you. Criticism doesn't redirect you. Why? Because the dominant thought is not conditional. It does not bargain. It does not seek permission. It is your internal king, and kings do not kneel. Let us be honest. Most men are addicted to chaos. They crave the drama of doubt. They like the humility of uncertainty. They cling to the identity of still figuring it out. But clarity is expensive. It costs your excuses. It costs your comfort. And once the dominant thought takes full control, you are now accountable. No one to blame. No more waiting. No more softness in the mirror. Only the man who decides and moves and conquers. You don't rise by accident. You rise by installing a dominant thought and letting it replace the former version of you. You rise by repetition. You rise by rejection. You rise by declaring, "This is who I am now," permanently. And when that declaration is no longer a statement but a frequency, then, and only then, you will see the world obey the man you chose to become. By now, you may have noticed This was never about success alone. It was never just about wealth, or praise, or recognition. It was always about ownership. The man who installs his dominant thought owns himself. And a man who owns himself cannot be bought. He does not negotiate with doubt. He does not seek validation. He does not lower his standard to fit the room. He carries his atmosphere, and the world adjusts. Here lies the secret most never see. The man with a dominant thought eventually becomes a reference point for others. Your certainty becomes their anchor. Your repetition becomes their reminder. Your action becomes their permission. You stop trying to influence. You become influence. Your words carry weight because your life already proves them. Your presence alone reorients the confused. Not because you are louder, but because your frequency is stable. The man who has mastered his mind does not chase legacy. He breathes it. Let me assure you, there will be days when the thought is tested, when results are slow, when betrayal knocks, when chaos interrupts your plan, and in that moment, your old identity will beg to return. It will whisper, maybe you were wrong, maybe you should stop, maybe this isn't worth it. But the dominant thought, if truly installed, will not flinch. It will say, I knew this moment was coming, and I am still immovable. That is how you know it has fully become you. You do not just hold the belief, it holds you. Most will need approval before action. They will need signs. They will wait for applause, support, timing. But not you, not anymore. The man who lives by dominant thought is already walking ahead of reality. He is walking as if it's done, not pretending, not faking, but embodying. This is what it means to be self-made. Not that you built the empire alone, but that you built yourself first. And no empire stands without a ruler inside who already saw it finished. You have two options. Let your mind run itself, or train it like a sword. Let random thoughts create your life, or forge the one that will shape your world. And when that thought becomes your breath, your posture, your identity, then, and only then, you will find that the world cannot help but follow the mind that has already arrived. So choose carefully, because the man you allow in your mind is the man the world will one day meet. If you made it here, you're not like most. You are not a wanderer of thought. You are a builder, a commander, a man in the making of something permanent. So let me offer you the simplest command. Subscribe, turn on notifications, join the mission. Because this is not just another motivational video. This is the construction of a new inner world. Every week, we don't just drop content, we install codes, we refine thought, we sharpen identity, we rewire the dominant narrative that shapes everything. And if you felt something shift today, even slightly, then your mind is already responding. So don't lose momentum. Don't just consume. Commit. Click subscribe now. Activate the bell. And take your seat among the few who train the only thing that ever mattered. The thought that runs your life. Because this is not a channel. It's a command center. Welcome to the Mind Rebuilt.